Hello everybody, welcome back to Its Current Year for another quick battle ladder replay. Today being played on the Galbaraz map. I am playing the Golden Order led by Balthasar Gelt. I'm up against a Beastmen army led by Morgur the Shadowgate. So we'll get into the battle and it gets underway pretty quick here, given it's a mass sort of vanguard build from the Beastmen. So we'll go through what my opponent is rocking to start with. So on the far side here, we've got some Centaurs with great weapons hiding in the bushes here. I can't see them obviously because I've got a unit of Pistoliers nearby. We have a Beast Shaman who has taken Flock of Doom, the Manticore Summon, and the Jagged Dagger. He's on a chariot. We've got a couple of obviously just the obligatory Ungor Spearman frontline here. Basically just the chaff. Give yourself some stuff to dance around with your Centaurs. He's also taken a unit of Ungor, several units of Ungor Raiders. He's got four actually. Ungor Raiders, I've mentioned on the channel before, I think are quite an underrated skirmish unit. Obviously, given that they have both Vanguard deploy and Stalk, it can limit the amount of fire they take in. Obviously on the approach, which is good given they have almost no armor and really poor leadership. So any damage they take can really negatively affect them. But for 90 unit models, they're just putting not a lot of armor piercing damage, but they're putting a lot of shots in. So with big targets with large hitboxes can actually be quite badly affected by Ungor Raiders. So I like the pick of Ungor Raiders here. And then we've basically just got a backline of Hounds, Throwing Axe Centaurs, some more Centaurs here, more Hounds, more Throwing Axes, Centaurs. So it's a really fast, very mobile, basically a full Vanguard build here, apart from probably Morgur, who's just hidden here. He's obviously taken his Staff of Ruinous Corruption for the Chaos Spawn summons. For my battle line, I'm playing obviously the Golden Order. So I've got the Unbreakable frontline. Flagellants and Sigmar's Sons are pretty good against Beastmen infantry. Aside from Bestigors, they'll chew through everything pretty quickly. Gors, Ungors, even Hounds, even Centaurs. They have obviously pretty poor armor. They actually chew through them very quick. Are going to be very vulnerable to the Ungors. So when the Ungors become known to me, I am a little bit worried because obviously small arms fire does do a lot to them. I've taken 2 units of Knights of the Blazing Sun here. Obviously trade well with infantry. They trade really well with Centaurs. Centaurs with great weapons will do alright against them. And then I've just got 2 units of stock standard Empire Knights, and in a Vanguard deployed over on the side here, I have 3 units of Pistoliers. Went for Pistoliers instead of Outriders. I didn't have enough to go for the grenade launchers. I wanted some mobility. Don't really need the Outriders for armor piercing because aside from Bestigors, Bestigors aren't fantastic in this matchup anyway. You want to go a little bit wider against the Empire. Figured I didn't need the armor piercing. And then up in the sky here, I have a bit of an Air Force, 2 Empire captains. Basically just stripped them down completely. They've got Hold the Line. But they're on Pegasi, and Balthasar Gelt in the air with Searing Doom, Piercing Bolts, Final Transmutation, and Plague of Rust, as well as the Staff of Volans just to buff my magic. So like I said, it gets underway pretty quickly here. So we'll press play. I see this and I immediately just decide to fall back. I don't want to take fire from Ungors. Ungors are gonna do a bit of damage to Pistoliers given they only have 30 armor. So I pull them back. I also see a lot of Centaurs around here. So I want to give myself a bit of cover, moving my Knights out here. Likewise on this side, I'm keeping everything nice and tight, and I'm deciding to shift to one flank so I can deal with one flank sort of at a time, and then sort of use my cavalry here to try and sort of guard my flanks here against anything that might lap around from this side. So I've got my Air Force a bit bunched up here. They'll start going hunting in the back line pretty soon, and I'm moving my Pistoliers down to come and deal with these Centaurs as he sort of makes his approach here. One mistake I think I make here is I spread out a little bit too much. I give a few attack orders for various things, and I probably just spread my infantry line a little bit quicker, and I open myself up to him probably just picking them off with his cavalry, you know, getting cycle charging. Obviously a good cycle charge here, you know, get the charge bonus in, get the damage. Look how much damage that does on the charge. Massive amount of HP damage and good model losses. And as I said, the Ungor Raiders are going to be really effective here at taking down flagellants. I get the counter charge here with my Empire Knights. Obviously, Centaurs on the charge do a fair bit of damage, but I know they lack armor piercing. Empire Knights don't have the greatest combat stats, but their armor sort of should hold out for a bit. But I do get a bit sort of mucked up here on spears. I have countercharged these hounds though with my Knights of the Blazing Sun. The Knights of the Blazing Sun can be a little bit more independent and hold out by themselves. And just some nice cycle charging here from my opponent, pulling the Centaurs out, pulling them back in, and this flagellant, you know, already is pretty tattered. The Air Force is just going to go sort of one by one down the line here and trying to pick off the Ungor Raiders, because I do know that they are going to thin my front line very quickly. He's got a few good Flock of Dooms down here, but I am keeping these guys together and I'm just moving them up and around. You know, I know with 90 speed to 94 speed, if I react quick enough, I can. You know, the Centaurs are quicker, but if I react quick enough, I can at least get them out and keep them safe. The front line fighting pretty much everywhere is going to go well for me. Yeah, these flagellants are basically on their last legs. These ones are copping fire, but you know, the Sigmar's sons here are chewing through these guys. Morgul is actually fighting the Tattersouls, and he's getting pretty nicely beaten down by them. And over here we've got our Knights, our Empire Knights into some Ungor Raiders and some Centaurs. Another Flock of Doom, so I think that's the third Flock of Doom he's got off here. But you see how much, you know, even just a little bit of fire from these guys. You know, 15 flagellants here, some rallying Centaurs here, which I do see, and I want to try and cut them off before they can really affect this and pin my Knights in or offer any support here to my sort of cavalry squad. Over on this side of the battle, I have been a little bit mucked up. Both my units of Knights here did actually get worn down, but he did probably overchase a little bit. So I know if I can just sort of gather my forces, try and get everything a little bit tighter, by the time these guys get back, I can have really sort of knocked out most of what's lingering around over here. We've got 7 flagellants fighting an Ungor herd here under fire from the Pistoliers and just being hunted by the Knights. A Manticore summon goes down. One of Morgur's Chaos Spawn summons goes down here. I make a mistake here. I should have actually just let, like, the Tattersouls here, they have 45 models. I should have just let these Spawn just fight it out with them and not bothered about the Knights trying to fight them. But, you know, in the desperation of the game, you make some clicks sometimes that you'd like to be able to make again. Another Flock of Doom going down, so just getting that chipping away damage, chipping away. The Centaurs, he's actually sending his Throne Axe Centaurs in here, which probably, you know, isn't a bad call. He probably could have lapped around here and locked my Knights in, but both my Knights have actually been terrified, and my Pistoliers are being pursued by a unit of Centaurs here. They're pretty tattered. A few volleys here should wear them down, but again, these guys, I need to split them up. They definitely don't all need to be firing at these Centaurs. So I see here, obviously one is getting the attack ordered this way, the other one this way. You're doing a bit of a delta split. This is this pit fight over here is sort of just dragging on. I've got my Empire Captain here. I did actually overextend a little bit with Balthasar Gelt, and he got locked in combat here. And pinned in just by the mass of the Chaos Spawn and the Centaurs, and he has unfortunately been routed. I did get a really good final transmutation in this blob though, which has nearly killed Morgur, and I really should have reacted quicker and finished him off, and I probably could have got the Beastmen to army losses a little bit, or potentially even now, because everything's looking pretty tattered. But my 2 Empire Captains are really healthy, and there's basically no effective anti-large here. You know, you look at that 85 armor, Ungor Spearmen aren't going to like fighting them, even though they do have the anti-large bonus. I've got a fair bit of, I've got a little bit of ammo left on my Pistoliers, so they're just sitting out getting pot shots. My Knights are sort of rallying and coming back in. These Pistoliers I'm just basically sending in to get a rear charge and try and trigger a bit of a mass rout here. But as you can see, the pit fighting here is just going on and on. I probably would have liked, he probably needed to withdraw these Centaurs with Throne Axes and just try and just try and skirt around. You know, use that ammo. You've got to use that ammo before you commit them to combat. You know, he's got Ungor spears here. He's got Ungor spears here. Pull back to them. Allow them to take the charge and soak up some hit points and damage from the flagellants, the knights, even the pistoliers. These guys are shielded, but Morgur is coming back, and I do actually see it here with this unit of knights, or this unit of pistoliers, sorry. And I know that basically pistoliers aren't going to be great in combat, but one charge here, although he has actually regenerated about 300 hit points since we last spoke about him. So I get these pistoliers just to basically do a bit of a drive-by on these Ungors here. And as you can see, the Empire captains just are still pretty healthy. This one's taken a bit of a beating, but this one's going to dive down and knock off Morgur. The remnants of my knights are just sort of pushing these guys off, basically, so they can't use their throwing axes on my captains or anything else that's going to be effective at finishing this battle off. But once again, Morgur's been routed, and with that, the Beastmen player is going to hit army losses, and the day is won by the Golden Order. So a good fun build by my opponent there. Pretty much aside from Morgur and the Braysham and everything in a Vanguard deployment, half the army is basically in stalk as well. All the Ungors there are in stalk. He did quite well to sort of concentrate his forces on that one side of the battle, and did work down 2 of my units of knights pretty well. But he probably just overchased a little bit. He sent 2. You saw those 2 healthy units of Ungor spearmen coming back to the fight late. They could have been pretty handy in that sort of pit fight when they're standing around Chaos Spawn and Morgur and the Centaurs that are charged in. Absolutely you need to get rid of these guys because they can be a bit of a pain against Beastmen. Beastmen don't have a lot of really good anti-large armor piercing, and obviously this, aside from the throwing axes, this army, and that unit of Centaurs with great weapons, this army has basically no armor piercing, which wasn't the worst thing considering my front line. You saw those flagellants get really well worked down by the Ungor raiders, but probably just a bit of an overchase there cost him. He probably could have regrouped his forces a little bit quicker, and that pit fight could have gone a lot differently for me. The captains really held the day. Probably could have taken hold your ground off them because they didn't really need the leadership in the front line, but they just slugged it out. Poor play on my behalf getting Balthasar swamped there, but they were sort of going in as a goon squad, and I actually thought he'd used both his Chaos Summons. I thought he only had the one Chaos Summon left when I dropped in to sort of dive bomb on Morgur, but all in all, a good game, a good fun game. As I've said before, love playing the Beastmen, love playing against them. They're a tough faction to use effectively, but it's always really fun to come up against them. I've been working a little bit recently on my Empire play, trying to sort of just work on a few builds, so stay tuned. I might have a few more games where I play the Empire up on the channel, but as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.